Hi, this is Miss Wismer. Today I'm going to model for you some strategies that Mr. Pete and I would like you to be using during your NNI reading assignment. So right now I'm on Newsella and I've got this article and it's called Ballet Dancers Must Be Both Graceful and Strong. When you're looking at an article, usually they're one page like this. Look, I think all the articles on Newsella are written like this, where you have subheadings. Okay? And each of these subheadings tell you what that section's about. And the title of the article tells you what the whole article is about. So this whole article is about how ballet dancers must be both graceful and strong. This section's about how dancers are very strong. This section is about how they're floating on air. This section, painful foot problems. It helps to understand that because you can kind of break this article into smaller chunks and it helps you to better comprehend what you're reading. And that's going to help when we go to answer our questions with our quiz. So let's go ahead and read this article and then we're going to work through the questions together. Ballet dancers must be both graceful and strong. Laura Lovett is a ballerina. She dances in the New York City Ballet. Like many dancers, her feet often hurt. I feel like I'm always in a battle with my feet, says Lovett. She has injured them many times. She soaks them in ice. She exercises them. Still, her feet keep hurting. Dancers are very strong. Dancers run, squat, and leap like any star basketball player would. However, dancers do not wear comfortable shoes. Some dancers speed around the stage barefoot. Sometimes they wear shoes with high heels. If they're ballerinas, they wear tight-fitting pointe shoes. When ballerinas dance all the way up on their toes, it can look easy. Do not be fooled, though. They're doing what few humans can. It takes a huge amount of strength. Dancers are just as strong as football players, if not stronger, says Lisa M. Schoen. She is a Chicago foot doctor who helps dancers. Floating on air. Ballerinas put all their weight on the tiniest tips of their toes. This is called dancing en pointe. It makes the dancers look like they're floating in the air. Pointe shoes are made with fabric and glue. The shoe must fit the dancer's foot perfectly. A pair of pointe shoes costs around $100. A pro dancer may use them only for one day. That's how quickly they can wear out. Claire Kretschmar is in the New York City Ballet. She puts new shoes on the ground and stomps on them. After that, she pours glue on the tips. When the glue dries, it makes the shoe tips hard. To protect her toes, she wraps them in a brown paper towel. Painful foot problems. Ballet dancers often dance through pain, says foot doctor Stephen Prubé. Early in Lovett's career, her foot began to hurt. It turned out she had an extra bone in it. She did not get it fixed for several years. After that last performance before the operation, walking out of the theater was scary, Lovett says. What have I forgotten about? That's always a dancer's fear. That was 2 years ago. After months of rest, she returned to the stage. Soon, she started having problems with the other foot. How a ballerina treats her feet is important, Pribue says, and that is true for everyone. Our footwear is an important tool. We should not wear certain shoes too often. The doctor says flip-flops, high heels, and ballet flats are all bad for our feet. So I've read the article. Notice I took my time reading the article. Now I'm ready to take my test. So I hit the light bulb. Okay, I'm going to hit the light bulb. And here's my quiz. Now, I want to caution you on this. If you accidentally hit an answer, you can't go back and change it. It'll mark it wrong in the end. I found that the hard way, okay? So here's my question, and remember to hit this arrow going down so that I can see my article because I want to take my time. Even if I think I know the answer, I need to go back into the text and verify my answer. So the question says, which sentence from the introduction paragraphs, and I think here they mean the introduction paragraph, and it's sentence 1 through 4. Which sentence from the introduction explains why Lauren Lovett's feet hurt her? I notice why is in capital letters, which tells me that's really important. Why do her feet hurt her? So I go back to that paragraph that they're talking about right here, and I'm noticing that these sentences, each of the answers are from that paragraph. So I want to think about why her feet hurt her. So Lauren Lovett, like many dancers, her feet often hurt. Well, that doesn't tell me why. So I can pretty much eliminate that as my answer. I know A is not the answer. It doesn't say anything about why her feet hurt. She has injured them many times. Now that could explain why her feet hurt her. So I'm going to keep B kind of in the back of my mind that might be right, but I'm not just going to choose it. I need to make sure it's the best answer. She soaks them in ice. Well, they're not going to hurt because she soaks them in ice. So that doesn't make sense either. I can cross out A and C at this point. And then finally, she exercises them. Well, I understand that exercising them could hurt, but I think when I'm reading it here, she exercises them, still they keep hurting. So I think she's exercising them so they won't hurt. So the one that makes the most sense to me is B. She has injured them many times, because that tells why. Okay, that answers the question. So I need to pull my arrow back up to submit that answer and go to the next question. Again, I'm pushing the arrow down because I want to look through the text every time. I'm taking my time. We have 4 questions. We can take our time. So the next question says, read the section, painful foot problems. So I can go right to that section. Here it is, painful foot problems. Why was Lovett scared to get an operation on her foot? Okay, so why was she scared to get an operation on her foot? I remember them talking about it somewhere in here, so I'm going to go back to the text. Let me look at my answers. Is it because she thought it would hurt? She thought she would not be able to dance. She thought people would forget about her, or she thought it would cost too much money. I remember this section. I'm going to go back and reread it. After that last performance before the operation, walking out of the theater was scary, Lovett says. What if I'm forgotten about? That's always a dancer's fear. So they said, what is she most scared about? Well, here she says that's the dancer's greatest fear. So right there is my evidence telling me that she thought people would forget about her. Okay, so again, I hit my arrow. Next. I'm on my 3rd question, and it hasn't taken me very long, but I've made sure I could find the evidence to support every answer. What is the main topic of the section, Floating on Air? Well, I know that this is the subtitle, Floating on Air. So it tells me that's the main topic, whatever that means, floating on air. So I need to remember what one of these answers is that whole section mostly about. A, what ballerinas look like when they dance. B, how ballet dancers must use pointe shoes. C, why pointe shoes can be expensive. Or D, where many ballerinas choose to live. Well, I can pretty much say, right, that the main topic, do you remember them mentioning about where ballerinas mostly live? Not really. So I can pretty much cross out D, because they really didn't talk about it. If it's the main topic, it's what they're going to be talking about the whole time. So now I'm looking at A, B, and C. It's called Floating on Air, and if I look in the text, it says that when ballerinas put all their weight on their tiniest tips of their toes, it's called dancing in point. And it makes the dancers look like they're floating on there. So that's where the title, Floating in Air. So it's how they look when they stand on their toes. So the main topic of Floating in Air is what ballerinas look like when they dance, how ballerina dancers must use pointy shoes, why pointy shoes can be expensive. I can cross that one out too, because that's not really what it's all about. So it's A or B, okay? So floating on air, okay, that can be tricky, but we have to find the best answer. And I think the best answer there is what they look like when they dance. So again, I'm going to choose that as my best answer and move to my last question. Which sentence from the article explains the main idea of the entire article? That's key, the entire thing. Well, remember we talked earlier, we want to look at the title of the article. That kind of tells us what the main idea of the whole article is. Ballet dancers must be both graceful and strong. And that's kind of what it was about, wasn't it? How strong dancers are, how they stand on their tippy toes, all their strength, and makes them float on air, okay? And all of that results in painful foot problems. So I'm thinking about what the whole article is about. Now let me check out my choices. A, dancers run, squat, and leap like a star basketball player would. Well, yeah, they did talk about that, okay? That's pretty strong. They're pretty strong there. And it does talk about, that's one sentence, okay? But it says, however, they don't wear comfortable shoes. Let's check out B. When ballerinas dance all the way up on their toes, it can look easy. Well, they do talk about that for a little while, but that's not what the whole article is about. So let's look at C. Ballet dancers often dance through pain, says foot doctor Stephen Prabhu. That makes a lot of sense because they talk about how up here, how their feet hurt, here how they're strong, even though it hurts when they're on point, okay? They still do it, okay? And how they use these shoes only for a day because they kind of ruin them. And then the tips are really hard, so that must hurt. And then they talk about how as a result of all this, they have painful foot problems. So, gosh, I'm thinking that C sounds good, but I'm going to keep looking. Flip-flops, high heels, and ballet flats are all bad for our feet. Well, I can eliminate that. The whole article wasn't about that. The whole article wasn't about B. When ballerinas dance all the way on their toes, it can look easy. So I have to choose A or C, and I choose C. And now I'm going to submit my answers. And the reason it said I got 3 out of 4 is because on one of those I touched my answer and changed it, okay? Ooh, Miss Wismer got one wrong. So let's look at this. Which sentence from the introduction explains why her feet hurt? Because she's injured them many times.